The woodworking shop was a haven of raw scent and shadow, its air thick with the aroma of cedar and sawdust, the floor littered with curls of shaved wood. I was there to check on a custom table, a project my husband's friend Lucas, a carpenter with hands as steady as his gaze, was crafting. The work lamp cast a warm glow over the workbench, its light catching motes of dust that danced like secrets. Lucas sanded a plank, his eyes meeting mine, and his presence, big, unyielding, stole my breath. He pressed in hard, not just with his tools, and I let the night carve me. I was 34, married to Stephen, a man whose love was steady but worn like a table scratched from years of use. Lucas was different, broad, deliberate, with hands that shaped wood with authority and eyes that shaped my desires. His flannel shirt sleeves rolled up was dusted with sawdust, revealing forearms corded with muscle. My sweater, a fitted olive knit, and my jeans clinging to my curves caught the lamp's glow, and his gaze lingered slow, deliberate, waking a hunger I'd buried deep. My wedding ring glinted a faint protest, but it couldn't smooth the fire rising in my chest. The city was a distant hum beyond the shop's wooden walls, its pulse drowned by the soft rasp of sandpaper and the creak of the workbench. Lucas moved to the saw, his movements precise, almost reverent, but his eyes were wild, untamed. I stood by the table, my jeans brushing my thighs, revealing a hint of skin as I leaned forward, and his gaze followed, dark, possessive, stirring something wild. I should have left when he showed me the design, when Stephen's voice was still clear in my mind. But I stayed, and the night grew thicker, heavier. He offered me a thermos of tea, pouring it into a tin mug, the steam rising like a whisper in the dusty air. "Feel the grain," he said, his voice low, gritty, like the wood he worked. I took the mug, our fingers brushing a spark that shot through me, settling low, aching, unbearable. The tea was warm, but it was nothing compared to the fire in my veins, the want that grew with every glance. My sweater clung to my skin, teasing my curves, and his eyes caught it, darkening with a desire that made my knees weak. The work lamp flickered, casting shadows that danced across his face, rugged and magnetic. My heart pounded a rhythm that matched the pulse of desire running through me. Lucas's gaze was a weight pressing against me, and I felt it, every inch of me alive, craving, screaming for something I shouldn't. "Run your hand here," he said, guiding my fingers to the wood, his voice a soft command like he was crafting more than a table. I could have stepped back, grabbed my keys, but my body leaned toward him, my skin begging for his touch, his strength. The shop was a world apart, the city forgotten. His hand hovered near my wrist, so close I could feel its warmth, but he held back, waiting. "Shape it with me," he said, his eyes locking on mine, urging me to work, to surrender. The guilt was there, Stephen's face flashing in my mind, his smile as we picked out furniture. But the want was ablaze, drowning out everything else. I pressed my hand to the wood, my breath shallow, my body trembling with the weight of what I was doing. The night was a carving, and I was already etched. The woodworking shop felt smaller now, the shadows tightening as the work lamp's glow bathed us in amber light. Lucas's flannel was speckled with sawdust clinging to his chest, outlining the broad muscles that flexed as he lifted a plank. My jeans were a traitor, hugging my curves, my sweater warm and soft, my skin prickling under his gaze. The tea sat heavy in my stomach, but it was his presence that made me dizzy, drunk on the promise of his touch. The faint hum of the city was gone, replaced by the rhythmic scrape of sandpaper, a sound that vibrated through me like a pulse. "You've got a steady hand," he said, his voice rough, like he was planning my soul. but he didn't move his body, a magnet pulling me closer. I thought of Stephen, his gentle hands, his quiet love, the life we'd built, a home filled with plans, predictable as a finished piece. But Lucas's presence was a raw timber, unpolished, untamed, filling the empty spaces Stephen never could. My fingers twitched, aching to touch him, to feel the heat of his skin, the rhythm of his desire. The guilt was a sharp splinter stinging, but it only made the ache deeper, more desperate. The lamp pulsed, casting shadows that seemed to sway with my heart. My sweater shifted, teasing my collarbone, my breasts, and I felt exposed, alive, wanted in a way I hadn't been in years. Lucas stepped closer, his body so near I could smell the cedar on his skin, mixed with the scent of varnish and want. His fingers brushed my hand as he handed me a sanding block, a fleeting touch that sent a shiver through me, my body leaning toward him without permission. "Smooth it out," he said, his voice a low rumble, urging me to work with him to blend. My hands moved over the wood, the grain smooth under my touch, a wordless plea my body couldn't hide. The guilt was a scream, Stephen's voice echoing his laugh as we built a bookshelf together. But it was no match for the fire in my veins, the need that consumed me. I thought of Stephen, his face soft in sleep, but Lucas's touch was real, burning, pulling me under. My fingers trembled, brushing his arm, an instinct I couldn't control, the knit of my sweater, whispering against my skin, betraying my desire. His eyes darkened, locking on mine, a silent command to surrender. The shop was a cocoon now, shutting out the world. His hand slid to my waist, light but deliberate, and I gasped, the sound swallowed by the quiet. The guilt was there, Stephen's trust a ghost in my mind, but Lucas's hands were real, promising a pleasure I'd forgotten existed. I leaned closer, my breasts brushing his chest, the contact sending a jolt through me that settled low, aching, unbearable. The lamp's glow danced across his face, making him look like a carpenter chiseling my ruin. "Carve it deeper," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear, sending a shiver through me that made my thighs clench. I couldn't hold back. My skin was on fire, my body trembling with need, my heart pounding like a hammer. My hands found his wrist, feeling the heat through his sleeve, the rapid beat of his pulse. I was drowning in it, in him, in the reckless thrill of being wanted this way. The workbench was a trap, and I was already shaped. The woodworking shop was a crucible now, the work lamp's light forging something dangerous between us. Lucas's hands were on me, steady, possessive, guiding my fingers along the wood as if he were carving my soul. The glow was soft but searing, highlighting every curve of my jeans, my skin prickling under his gaze. His touch was deliberate, each movement a stroke in a design I couldn't resist, and I followed willingly, recklessly. My body was alive, every nerve singing, my thighs trembling as they brushed against the workbench, inviting him closer. His fingers slid higher, brushing the bare skin of my waist beneath my sweater, and I moaned, the sound soft, desperate, swallowed by the shop's hush. My body arched toward him, craving the contact, the sin. The guilt was a jagged cut slicing through me, but it only made the desire sharper, more urgent. His lips grazed my temple, a slow, burning trail that made my head spin. My hands gripping his shoulders, nails digging into his flannel. The shadows danced, mirroring the chaos inside me, every movement a confession. "Feel the edge," he murmured, his voice rough with need, his breath hot against my cheek, urging me to press deeper into the moment. But I couldn't pull back, wouldn't pull back. The lamp caught the sheen of sweat on his skin, making him look like an artisan crafting my ruin. My hand slid down his chest, feeling the broad muscle beneath his shirt, the rapid beat of his heart matching mine. My jeans clung tighter, outlining every curve, and his eyes followed dark and unyielding, drinking in every inch of me. His hand moved higher, tracing the curve of my ribcage through my sweater, his fingers brushing just beneath my breast, and I gasped, my body shuddering under his touch. The shop was a haze, the world reduced to the space between us, to the heat of his hands, the rhythm of my breath. I thought of Stephen, his quiet love, his trust, his hand on mine as we admired our new dining table. But the thought was fleeting, swept away by the storm of desire. Every touch was a stroke in a design of surrender, and I shaped it willingly, chasing the fire, the danger, the ecstasy. His lips brushed my jaw, his breath ragged, and I tilted my head back, offering everything. My body trembled, caught between guilt and need, but the need was a tidal wave crashing over me, drowning out everything else. His hand slid lower, guiding my hips closer, and I moaned loud now, the sound mingling with the rasp of the saw. I was his, and he knew it, his touch carving me in ways I'd never be clean of. Then it came, a sharp clang from the shop's back door, a delivery or a stray tool breaking the spell, and with it, reality. Stephen's face flashed in my mind clear, and accusing his trust a weight I couldn't ignore. I pushed against Lucas's chest, my hands shaking, my breath ragged. He stepped back, his eyes dark with hunger and something like regret, but it was too late. The line had been crossed, even if we hadn't gone all the way. I was marked, branded by his touch, and I'd never be the same. I stumbled away from the workbench, my legs unsteady, my sweater still clinging to me like a confession. The work lamp's glow was dim now, but it couldn't hide the heat still burning inside me. I grabbed my keys, my fingers fumbling, and headed for the door, the cool night air hitting me like a slap. The drive home was a blur of city lights and guilt, my heart pounding with what I'd done, what I'd almost done. Stephen was asleep when I got home, his face soft in the lamplight, peaceful, trusting. I stood over him, watching his chest rise and fall, the guilt twisting like a knife in my gut. The days that followed were a fog of want and shame. I went through the motions, cooking dinner, kissing Stephen goodnight, but my mind was back in that shop, back with Lucas's hands, his eyes, his strength. I saw him again at a hardware store, his gaze catching mine across the aisles. We didn't speak, but we didn't need to. The air between us was charged, a silent promise of what could have been, what still might be. I told myself I'd stay away, that I'd be good. But every night as Stephen slept beside me, I lay awake, my body burning with the memory of a touch that wasn't his, a design that changed everything. The guilt was a living thing now clawing at me, but so was the desire, a grain that wouldn't fade. Lucas was just a carpenter, a man who'd built a table, but he'd carved something in me I couldn't sand away. I'd stopped short of the edge, but I'd gone far enough to know I'd never be whole. The shop, the wood, his hands, they were branded into me, a mark I'd carry forever. If this story set your heart racing, smash that like button. If you think I'm a fool for pressing into the wood, hit dislike, I deserve it. Drop a comment, what would you do in my place? Subscribe for more stories that cut deep. Share this with someone who needs to feel the fire, and check out the next one. The truth is raw, messy, and worth it. Catch you soon!